Hello, welcome to News Center. I'm Parikshit Luthra. A greater impetus on artificial intelligence, a call for safeguards with regulatory certainty, and the expectation that India would play a leadership role in tech regulation. The annual Google for India event gave a broad sense of the tech giants' plans for India and underscored their policy expectations from the union government. While CEO Sundar Pichai said that technology needed responsible regulation as it touches so many lives, Google India Vice President claimed that 1 billion Indians would be online by 2025. Top executive Elizabeth Reed focused on how they intended to make Google search intuitive. My colleague Ashmit Kumar gets us all the action.
Google for India 2022. Now, one normally associates big numbers, big announcements with this event. But while we saw neither, what we did see was a very distinct push being given by Google to make Google search more intuitive. Now, what does that mean? Now, imagine clicking a picture of a butterfly and then seeking answers from Google search as to which breed that butterfly is. Or talking in English and then seeking answers by saying, "Mujhe Connaught Place jana hai." Or even asking questions like, "Cheese kis cheese se banti hai?" These are questions and these are answers that Google search says will be enabled by AI.
Google for India today, we talked about how we're using AI to enable search to be more innovative and natural, to enable it to be more helpful than ever for folks in India and to really address the needs. We talked about this in 3 ways: visually with multi-search, enabling people to be able to explore information using a combination of images and text.
Sure.
Bilingual search results, allowing people to consume their information in a combination of multiple languages, to do it in a much more natural way. And then the third one, to allow diverse speakers to interact with technology and voice with, for instance, the ability to search over English much more across. And we think overall there's huge potential with India. It's really exciting to see the evolution, and we're going to continue to invest in India very heavily.
Broad thrust of your message was that you're trying to make Google search more intuitive,
Yep.
so that it's more flexible. Users feel more at home with this, with the new tools that are being made available. Explain to us from a layman's perspective, like you would to any regular conventional Google user, what do these AI tools mean, and what will they enable? What facilities will they enable for the users?
Sure. So at a high level, there's the breadth of information that something like Google has, but then there's the ease of getting information at home. You would go and you would ask somebody casually, and you would just ask, and it wouldn't feel like it was work, right? And working with technology should feel like that. It should feel as easy as it is, right? So if you take our bilingual SERPs, right, you would consume content, you would talk to people, and you would learn about it in Hindi or you'd learn about it in English. Why should you have to pick ahead of time and say, can you not explore both of them given that? If you take our efforts on English, this is how you talk. You shouldn't have to change what you're asking for to some special way in order to communicate. That ability to just express your information need the way you would like to naturally, I think will make it much easier for people to do that. And oftentimes people, when they're using multiple languages, they'll know certain words in one language and certain words in another. And so even if you ask them to put it all in one language, it would actually be pretty limiting and restricting. And so we think this really opens up the ability to be truly natural for people in expressing their needs.
These AI tools, Google explains, can be used for credit, for finance, for agriculture, for education, even healthcare. In fact, Apollo Healthcare announced a partnership with Google. Here's Sangeeta Reddy explaining.
Apollo 24/7. It brings the entire Apollo within the reach of every customer on their mobile phone. We all believe that care is shifting from the hospital to the clinic, from the clinic to the home, and from the home to a 24/7 ubiquitous access to care enabled by your mobile phone. And all these will enable a better ecosystem of care. We're happy we're partnering with Google, looking at AI and ML models, finding ways to understand conversational medicine. And this is where so many of the technologies of Google come in, so that an individual can just speak, talk to their healthcare partner. We use and encapsulate the power and the knowledge of Apollo, put this into the technology backbone, and be able to help people. It's as simple and as complex as that.
Well, also present at Google for India 2022 was the Minister for IT, Telecom and Railways, that's Ashwini Vaishnav. He acknowledged that AI will play a crucial role as a part of the tech and digital journey of India going forward, and said that the 3 bills under consideration, that's the Telecom Bill, that's the Draft Data Protection Bill, as well as the Digital India Bill, will lay the framework, the legal framework for enabling this journey.
So we are creating 3 horizontals. First is the telecom bill, which is for the carrier. Second is the digital protection bill, which is focused around enforcing citizens' privacy rights. And third is the Digital India bill, which is going to look at practically everything else which is required to be seen. The 2 bills which have been put up for consultation should be completed by July, August. It should pass the parliament.
Well, the big highlight, of course, was the Google CEO, Sundar Pichai, speaking to the Google universe. And in doing so, while he welcomed more regulation for the tech space, what he did, however, define are 4 guardrails. Number 1, he said that regulation should be balanced, should be certain, should be responsible, and importantly, should promote innovation.
I think India has a leadership role to play here. Again, given the scale and the technology leadership it will have. And it's important to make sure you're balancing, and putting in safeguards for people. You're creating innovative framework so that companies can innovate, on top of a certainty in the legal framework. So I think it's an important moment in time. But through it all, hopefully India can also be a voice for, India will also be a big export economy, will benefit from a open and connected internet. And I think getting that balance right, I think will be important.
Well, this was the 8th edition of Google for India, and importantly, it's coming at a time when the government is seeking to tighten the regulatory screws on competition, on data security, on grievance redressal, and even AI. So while Google may have shared its concerns, the government, however, may have different priorities. In New Delhi, Ashmit Kumar.
All right. Thanks, Ashmit, for packing in all the action for us from the Google India event, which is taking place. Moving on, the government is weighing its options on the free food grain scheme, which has been extended multiple times since it was first rolled out during the COVID lockdown in March 2020. Sources say that the government is well placed with regards to grain stock for the scheme to be extended. However, a call on extension will have to be taken at the highest level. Sapna Das joins us with more. Sapna, what are the points the government is considering before giving any extension to the free grain scheme?
Well, what we are given to understand is the government is definitely weighing options at the moment in terms of whether the PMGKY needs to be extended further. This call, of course, will be taken at the highest level. As far as the food grain stock is concerned, there the government is very well positioned. According to some of the data that has just been very recently released, as of Jan 1, 2023, the wheat and rice stock is likely to be above the buffer norm. And, for the rest of the season also, they are pretty well positioned. I mean, there the commentary is extremely clear. It's very strong in terms of the food grain availability. Absolutely no question of shortage. Whether it's additional allocation for BMGKY or even for the current NFSA, the normal routine outgoes that happen. So that's one side of the story. However, Finance Ministry also in the past has been raising certain red flags on the fiscal impact of the PMGKY extensions. We all know the numbers. The last quarter itself, the extension is going to cost the government additionally 44,000 crores. Another extension, at least for 3 months, will cost them again over 40,000 crores. If the extension is for a large part of the year, then of course the number is going to be much bigger. Plus, even if you look at the current economic situation, the COVID scare has receded. The growth numbers are coming back to normalcy. So under these circumstances, there does not appear to be too much of an economic rationale for extending the PMGKY. But as I just said, this is going to be a call to be taken at the highest level, and we'll just have to keep a watch as to how it really pans out.
Right. Thank you very much, Sapna. So let's see what kind of announcement the government comes up with over the next few days, and what does the budget really have to say for the agriculture sector, for the farmers and agri startups as well. We're going to take a short break, but when we return, pilots of Air India write to Tata Sons Chairman N. Chandrasekaran to intervene in the alleged victimization of pilots. More on that coming up. Welcome back. You're watching News Centre. Two pilot unions of Air India have written to Chairman N. Chandrasekaran seeking his intervention to stop the alleged victimization of pilots and unethical practices. They have reiterated complaints about shortage, overworking, leave denials and salary cuts. Madhya Mujawar joins us with more. Madhya, what are the pilots alleging?
Well, this is the second letter written by Air India pilots in the last 1 week, alleging unhealthy and hostile working conditions. The two pilot unions, Indian Pilots Guild and Indian Commercial Pilots Association, have now approached Tata Sons chairman N. Chandrasekaran, who is also the chairman of Air India. In the letter, the pilots have very strongly written about their complaints. Some of their key concerns include hostile working conditions. The letter alleges pilots are demoralized due to unethical treatment meted out to them by the management. They claim pilots are being intimidated to operate flights beyond their flying hours, which they say disregards Air India's flight duty time limitation scheme. They further allege that pilots are not being paid for the period they undergo training to fly a different aircraft or are awaiting license renewals. They say there is no minimum payment guarantee and pilots are also denied their rightful overtime payment. They also accuse the management of denying leaves to pilots and deducting salaries for sick leaves. The letter ends by seeking the chairman's intervention. It says, and I quote, "We urge you to intervene and put a stop to this victimization. In this, you are our last and singular hope." End of quote.
All right. Thank you, Madhya, for joining us with that letter written by pilot unions to N. Chandrasekaran of the Tata Group. Moving on, the government is aiming to implement 50 to 60 quality control measures in 2023. DPIIT's Additional Secretary Anil Agarwal told CNBC-TV18 that the quality control orders are aimed at areas where India has enough domestic capacity or unnecessary imports. He added that India needs to have a quality-focused mindset to be a part of the global value chain.
When we are looking at now being a part of the global value chain, you are looking at a huge market, a huge domestic market. You need to have a very, very solid quality mindset. Like, our Prime Minister has said, zero effect, zero defect. Unless you have that quality, it has to come as in your mindset. Wherever we are doing, there is also this need of developing newer standards for newer things. And newer standards can only come in through innovation.
32 million viewers tuned in to Jio Cinema to watch the final clash in the FIFA World Cup 2022. Digital viewership overtakes TV for the first time. The tournament becomes the most watched global sporting event on digital that did not have India participating. Manglam Malu has done the number crunching. Manglam, over to you.
Well, while we're all talking about how thrilling the match was, the exciting match, etc., and perhaps the greatest football match or FIFA final that we've seen, well, it also means that it was also the most watched football match in India. In fact, the big headline from FIFA finals this time around was that digital viewership has overtaken TV viewership for the first time. 32 million people tuned into Jio Cinema for the final day of FIFA World Cup, and that's just the final day. In fact, over the entire World Cup duration, there were 110 million viewers. So 11 crore people actually went ahead and consumed the football on digital content. Cumulative reach for the first 58 matches on television was around 47 million. So assuming that they even doubled that number in the second half, digital was far ahead of television itself. India, as a result of this, has actually become one of the highest digital viewership markets for FIFA, an event where it does not even participate. So that's a record of sorts. And as far as business is concerned, advertisers, there were over 50 brands across e-commerce, banking, financial services, auto, fashion, hospitality, fintech, all of them coming in to advertise on these platforms itself. And why just India? Globally as well. We had tweets from global tech leaders. Sundar Pichai tweeted that search, that's Google search, recorded its highest ever traffic in 25 years on the final of FIFA World Cup. He said that it was like the entire world was talking about just one thing. And Elon Musk as well said that 24,400 tweets per second was the frequency at which people were tweeting when France hit that goal itself. So world over, people were talking about it on digital, and India, 3.2 crore viewers on Jio Cinema apps.
Thanks very much for joining us with that big update, Manglam. Moving on, majority of 17 million respondents to a poll posted by Elon Musk want him out as the CEO. Musk had posted an informal poll on Twitter asking users if he should step down as the head of the microblogging site. 57% voted saying he should resign. Sanjay Suri gets us more.
This could turn out to be the biggest corporate harakiri of all time if indeed Musk were to fully and finally step away from all management control of Twitter. He had invited a poll on Twitter asking if he should step down as head, and he promised to abide by the results. And the results are here, a very substantial number, and the majority by very clear margin have voted for him to step down. Musk could hardly have expected this result. This was intended more likely as a move to establish himself not just as the owner and chief executive, but the manager by global vote, the first such manager. And the plan B would be for him to then step back as manager and get someone else in to stop the advertisers leaving in the hordes in which they have been leaving Twitter under his charge. Not many, though, see Musk slipping quietly into the oblivion. For a start, he would manage any new manager. He also says that no one else wants the job. There is no successor. It's very hard to put consistency to anything Musk says. And of course, he could point to the fact that of 122 million users who could have voted, a small fraction voted, and then a smaller fraction then voted him out or wanted him out. It does not seem likely that Musk could simply look on as spectator or just continue as a Twitter user, and then let's say if a new manager were to propose rehiring the staff that Musk fired, and that's more than half of the staff, that Musk would simply say okay. Or if someone else were to put in a political agenda that he doesn't want, he would accept that. He clearly has his own political ambitions and expressions that he has been using Twitter for. But clearly this is a big blow to this self-image of Musk as some sort of a messiah out to lead the world into a brave new future, well, on Earth and then beyond Earth into other worlds through SpaceX. The fact is that he has been a very compromised messiah. He banned the accounts of some independent journalists, then reinstated them. He brought in certification, paid certification in unclear ways, abandoned it, reinstated it. Not a very steady hand on the till at all. The best bet clearly would be for Musk to step back, if not step down.
All right. Thank you very much, Sanjay Suri, for joining us. With that, it's a wrap on this edition of News Center. News continues on CNBC-TV18. Stay tuned.